Chosen ones, you've been sitting back, watching, taking in every detail. You've been quiet, calm, and collected. Not because you didn't know what was happening, but because you knew exactly what was going on. You didn't need to shout your plans or explain yourself to people who were never going to understand. Instead, you observed. And in that silence, you gathered every piece of the puzzle, studied every move they made, and positioned yourself perfectly for the moment you would strike without warning. They underestimated the power of someone who watches, listens, and learns before they act. And now, without even showing your hand, you have them exactly where you want them. Checkmate. Before we go any deeper, I want you to watch this video until the very end. Write your most sincere wishes in the comments and add 777 to send your energy into the universe. This is not just a gesture. It's a way of locking in the next chapter of blessings that are ready to find you. And while you're here, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the messages meant for you. This moment, right now, could be the shift you've been praying for. They think power is loud. They think it's about making the biggest scene or forcing people to notice you. But real power is subtle. It's in knowing exactly what to say and when to say it, exactly when to move and when to wait. You've been in the waiting phase, and that's what has them confused. They've been expecting you to react impulsively, to get flustered, to make mistakes. But you've stayed composed. And while they were busy trying to figure you out, they exposed themselves completely. They showed you their weaknesses, their patterns, their blind spots. And now, without even lifting a finger, you've already won. The beauty of your position is that it's not built on luck. It's built on discipline. Observation is not passive. It's a skill. Most people can't sit still long enough to really see what's going on. They're too busy talking, defending themselves, or trying to prove their worth. But you, chosen one, have learned that the most powerful person in the room is the one who speaks the least and listens the most. Every silence, every moment you resisted the urge to respond was a move in the game. And now that game is over, and they don't even know it yet. There's a deep wisdom in moving in silence. When you don't reveal your hand, people project their own fears and insecurities onto you. They imagine scenarios, they build false narratives, and in doing so, they give you all the information you need without you asking for it. That's why you're dangerous to them, not because you're reckless, but because you're strategic. You're not out here playing checkers, you've been playing chess the whole time, and you've just cornered the king. What they didn't understand is that your silence was never weakness, it was strategy. You were storing energy, building strength, and waiting for the exact moment to reveal just enough to end the game. You don't need to scream your victory from the rooftops. Your presence alone sends a message they can't ignore. That's the power of a chosen one, turning patience into precision and precision into victory. The thing about your observation, chosen one, is that it's not just seeing, it's reading. You don't just watch what people do. You understand why they do it. You see the motives behind the smiles, the fear behind the aggression, the insecurity behind the arrogance. That's what terrifies them the most. They can put on a mask for the rest of the world, but with you, it doesn't work. Your eyes cut straight through the performance. And the more you see, the less you say, which only makes them more uneasy. They've spent so much time trying to figure out your next move, yet you never gave them a pattern to track. Every time they thought they had you pinned down, you shifted. Every time they thought they had outsmarted you, you were already 2 steps ahead. You don't have to rush because you understand the game doesn't belong to the one who moves first. It belongs to the one who moves last, with precision. And that's exactly what you've been doing. Letting them exhaust themselves, letting them reveal their strategies while you remain untouchable. Silence is your greatest disguise. It's not that you're hiding, it's that you're letting them underestimate you. In their minds, if you're not loud, you're not a threat. But the reality is, the most dangerous players are the quietest ones. They move without warning, and by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. Your observation has allowed you to gather every piece of leverage you need without ever exposing yourself. You don't have to bluff, you don't have to show your hand, because you've already collected enough information to win without revealing a single card. And the thing is, they felt it. Even if they couldn't put it into words, they sensed your spiritual strength. They sensed that there was something in you that was different, not desperate, not reactive, not fragile. Your energy wasn't seeking validation. It was grounded, solid, unshakable. And that's a type of strength that can't be faked. You didn't need to match their chaos. You simply observed it until it imploded on itself. They will tell themselves they lost because of bad luck or missteps, but deep down, they know it was you. They know you saw every weakness, every opening, every move before they made it. And what's worse for them is that you never had to gloat. Your victory is quiet, almost invisible, but undeniable. They can't call it an accident because everything aligned too perfectly. They can't call it a coincidence because you were too composed for too long. No, this was checkmate, and it was intentional. What you've done is bigger than winning a single game. You've proven to yourself that you can operate in a higher dimension, one where emotional control, patience, and strategy outweigh brute force or manipulation. You've shown that you can stand in a room full of noise and still keep your focus. That is spiritual discipline, and it's rare. Most people fold under pressure or get dragged into distractions, but you've mastered the art of staying still until the right moment. And this moment? It's the turning point. From here on, you don't have to convince anyone of your worth. The results speak for themselves. You've already shifted the energy in your favor, and now everything they tried to keep from you will start to find its way into your hands. It's not about revenge, it's about rightful alignment. What's yours can't be stolen, and what's meant for you can't be blocked. You've proven that by simply watching, waiting, and striking at the right time, you can make the impossible inevitable. The beauty of your journey, chosen one, is that you didn't have to force a single thing. The pieces fell into place because you refused to play the game by their rules. They wanted you to act impulsively, to reveal your thoughts in the heat of the moment, to give them just enough to counter you. But you denied them that satisfaction. You didn't just play the long game, you embodied it. And that's something most people can't even fathom, because patience requires faith, and faith is something they've never truly had. They underestimated how deeply your observation was rooted in purpose. While they were caught up in trying to outshine you, you were quietly collecting insight, patterns, and truths. You weren't watching them to compete. You were watching to understand. And when you understand people at that level, you no longer get entangled in their traps because you can see every single string they're trying to pull. The thing they don't realize is that your silence wasn't absence. It was presence in its most powerful form. You were there, fully, completely, unshakably there, every time they tried to test you, and you registered it all without a single wasted reaction. They expected you to flinch, to get defensive, to rush into proving yourself. But your restraint became your weapon. You let them reveal themselves entirely while you revealed nothing. That's the kind of control that shakes people to their core, because it's the mark of someone who cannot be manipulated. And then there's the spiritual side to this, because what they saw in you wasn't just mental discipline, it was something beyond the human level. Your energy carried a weight, an authority, a light that exposed things they were trying to keep hidden. That's why even your observation felt like a threat. It wasn't just your eyes watching, it was your spirit discerning. People can lie to your face, but they can't disguise themselves from that higher sense within you. This is why they fumbled. This is why their strategies crumbled. You didn't block them with walls. You let them walk straight into the collapse of their own plans. And the entire time, you didn't have to announce a single move, because every step you took was precise, deliberate, and irreversible. They're left wondering how you knew, how you stayed so calm, how you managed to flip the entire outcome without even breaking a sweat. What they don't see is the preparation that built this strength. The nights you spent learning to control your emotions, the times you walked away from unnecessary battles, the moments you swallowed your pride because you were thinking beyond the present. That discipline trained you for this moment. You became so anchored in your higher self that their games could never truly touch you. Now they're stuck in a reality where they've been outmaneuvered without a visible fight. That's the kind of victory that echoes. It doesn't just end when the game ends, it follows them, reminding them that they weren't beaten by force, but by wisdom. And wisdom, chosen one, is the one thing they can't steal, copy, or fake. The truth is, you never needed to show your hand because you are the hand, the force that moves the game. And now that you've demonstrated what observation combined with patience can accomplish, they'll never look at you the same way again. They might try to avoid you, downplay you, or pretend it never happened, but deep down, they know you hold a strength that can't be challenged without consequence. What they don't understand, chosen one, is that real power isn't loud. It's quiet, precise, and intentional. You've proven that the most dangerous person in any room isn't the one making the most noise. It's the one who doesn't have to. You've become that person, and it's rattled them to the core. They can't predict you, they can't read you, and they can't figure out what you'll do next because you don't follow the script they've seen 1,000 times before. This is the point where the game shifted entirely in your favor. While they were busy plotting ways to catch you off guard, you were silently calculating every outcome. You knew when to step forward and when to step back. You understood the importance of timing, not just in action, but in energy. You allowed silence to build tension, and you let your absence create value. When you finally made your move, it didn't just surprise them, it dismantled everything they thought they knew about control. But here's the deeper layer. You didn't just play the game, they played themselves. Your observation exposed something they didn't want to admit, even to themselves. Their confidence was built on illusion, and illusion crumbles when it's under a light as strong as yours. You didn't need to confront them directly. All you had to do was remain steadfast in your energy, and the cracks began to show on their own. They tried to bait you, to draw out a reaction that they could use against you. But your composure was unshakable. Every time they thought they had found your breaking point, you responded with stillness. And stillness is something they cannot understand, because they live in chaos. Your stability became a mirror that reflected their instability back at them. That's why they started to unravel. Not because you attacked, but because they couldn't find a way to throw you off balance. This is the secret they'll never say out loud. Your spiritual strength scares them. It's not just about intelligence or emotional control. It's about the fact that there's something in you that answers to no one but God. That's why their usual tactics didn't work. That's why the energy they sent your way bounced back at them tenfold. You're not operating on the same frequency they are, and when lower energy comes into contact with higher energy, it either transforms or it shatters. In their case, it shattered. And now they're forced to watch you stand in victory without even lifting a sword. That's the part they can't stand. There's no story they can tell to make themselves look like they won. You've left them in a position where the only way they can make sense of it is to admit that you were always 2 steps ahead. They'll never say it to your face, but they'll think about it every time your name comes up. The truth is, chosen one, you've mastered the art of being underestimated. You've let people think they've figured you out, only to reveal at the perfect moment that they've been playing into your hands the entire time. This isn't manipulation, it's mastery. It's understanding human nature so deeply that you can anticipate moves before they're even made. And when you combine that with divine discernment, it becomes an unstoppable force. They now understand something they never considered before, that you are not to be challenged lightly. Not because you seek to destroy, but because you carry the kind of wisdom and strength that can dismantle any plan without leaving a trace of battle behind. You've shown them that true victory doesn't require noise, and that sometimes the most devastating move is the one they never see coming. By now, Chosen One, they've realized the real danger isn't in what you've done. It's in what you could do if you decided to. That's what keeps them up at night. You haven't even shown the full extent of your abilities, yet the fragments they've seen have been enough to make them reconsider every move they've made against you. They thought they were playing chess with you, but they didn't know you were playing a game far more advanced. One where the board is bigger, the rules are different, and you wrote half of them without even telling anyone. Your restraint has been your greatest weapon. You understand that revealing everything you know is a mistake most people make out of ego or impatience. But you're not here to feed anyone's expectations. You're here to fulfill a mission, and every action you take is measured against that mission's higher purpose. This is why they can't trap you. You've trained yourself to see beyond the bait, beyond the immediate reaction, and beyond the surface level of every situation. They've been studying you, hoping to decode your patterns, but here's the truth. They can't find any. That's because your moves aren't rooted in predictability. They're rooted in divine timing. You can wait weeks, months, even years for the right moment. And when that moment comes, you move so decisively that it feels like destiny itself stepped in to finish the work. That's not luck, that's alignment. And alignment is something your enemies will never truly understand. They operate in force, in desperation, in manipulation. You operate in flow, in faith, in quiet certainty. When they push, you don't push back. You redirect. When they attack, you don't panic. You assess. And when the right moment comes, you act with such precision that there's no need for a second strike. That's the difference between someone who reacts and someone who reigns. The most unsettling thing for them now is realizing that you've seen through every disguise they've worn. You've recognized the lies they told before they even opened their mouths. You've sensed the intentions behind their smiles, and you've detected the envy hidden in their praise. They can't play games with someone who has already read the rulebook and the fine print. They can't trick someone who doesn't move based on approval or fear. And here's the irony. They thought by watching you closely, they could gain power over you. Instead, all they've done is expose their own weaknesses. Every time they tried to study you, they revealed just how much they didn't know. Every attempt to outthink you became another opportunity for you to confirm the very truths they wanted to hide. It's almost poetic, the hunters becoming the hunted without a single confrontation. Now, the silence between you speaks louder than any words could. They feel your presence even when you're not in the room. They're cautious in their steps because they know you're the type of person who can notice one detail and unravel an entire lie from it. They've seen how you can walk into a situation, say nothing, and still leave with the truth no one else could find. That's why your observation alone has them in checkmate. They know you already have the winning move in your pocket. But here's what really shakes them. They don't know what you'll do with that knowledge. Will you expose them? Will you dismantle everything they've built? Or will you simply walk away, leaving them with the weight of their own guilt and the fear of when you might strike? The uncertainty is unbearable for them. And you, calm, steady, unshaken, are the embodiment of everything they can't control. The truth, Chosen One, is that your silence has become their loudest lesson. Every time you've chosen not to respond, not to retaliate, not to explain yourself, you've forced them to sit with their own uncertainty. And that is far more destructive to their plans than anything you could have said out loud. You've mastered the art of letting people reveal themselves without you lifting a finger. They keep replaying moments in their heads, trying to figure out what you noticed, what you heard, what you might be holding on to. They remember the way you looked at them, not with anger, but with that quiet knowing that says, "I see you completely." And that stare, calm but unshakable, has left them rattled long after the interaction ended. Because deep down, they know you've already mapped out the truth, and there's no undoing that. They have underestimated the power of stillness. In a world where everyone is rushing to speak, to post, to prove, you've learned to listen, to watch, to move only when necessary. They don't understand that silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. And while they've been scrambling to prove themselves right, you've been gathering information, connecting dots they didn't even know existed. What truly unnerves them is that you're not reactive. They can't bait you into revealing what you know. They can't pressure you into making the first move. Your patience is lethal. It's the kind of patience that makes enemies self-destruct before you even have to intervene. Because when someone knows they're under the gaze of someone who sees everything, they start making mistakes. They overcompensate. They reveal too much. They collapse under their own pressure. And here's where the checkmate comes in. Not because you've made a flashy move, but because you've positioned yourself so perfectly that no matter what they do next, they lose. If they attack, they expose themselves. If they retreat, they leave what they've built undefended. If they do nothing, they rot in their own paranoia. You've left them with no winning options, and that's the kind of victory that requires no announcement. This is why they can't match your energy. Your strength isn't loud, but it's undeniable. It's not desperate for attention, yet it demands respect. It's the kind of strength that comes from alignment, not ambition, from knowing who you are and who you answer to. They can't imitate that, because it's not a performance, it's your essence. The more they study you, the more they realize there's no blueprint to copy. They could mimic your words, your actions, even your style, but they can't replicate the source. That's why every attempt to be like you falls flat. They're playing a role, but you're living the truth. And truth, chosen one, always carries an energy that can't be faked. Now they're faced with a reality they didn't expect. The only way to beat you would have been to be you, and that's impossible. They'll spend the rest of their time trying to outthink someone who doesn't operate on the same rules, trying to predict moves that are guided not by fear or greed, but by something far higher. And as long as you keep walking in that, you will always be 10 steps ahead without even trying. What they've slowly come to understand, chosen one, is that your observation is not passive, it's surgical. You don't just notice things, you dissect them, strip them down to their core, and see the truth beneath the layers of performance. While they've been relying on surface impressions, you've been studying patterns, tone shifts, energy changes, and the small inconsistencies that betray the story they're trying to sell. It terrifies them because it's not something they can shield themselves from. They can guard their words, but they can't disguise the hesitation before they speak. They can hide their actions, but they can't mask the energy that leaks when they're lying. You're reading more than what's being said. You're reading what's being avoided, what's being left unsaid, and the cracks in the mask they thought was flawless. And this is where the depth of your power becomes undeniable. Most people only see what's in front of them. You see the undercurrent, the strategy, the intent. You're not fooled by smiles that don't reach the eyes, by compliments that carry a hidden sting, or by promises that were never meant to be kept. Your ability to hold back from calling it out right away is what makes you lethal, because in that space of silence, you give them room to dig their own grave. It's no wonder they've grown nervous around you. They feel exposed in your presence, even when you've said nothing at all. The way you simply exist in a room forces them to second-guess every move they make. They become hyper-aware, overthinking, slipping into mistakes because they're trying too hard to keep up a front. You're not even trying to break them down, they're dismantling themselves. That's the genius of how you've moved, chosen one. You never showed your hand, but every observation you've made has shifted the game. Every unspoken truth you've caught has tilted the balance in your favor. And they realize too late that checkmate isn't an action, it's a position. It's not something you declare, it's something you embody. What they don't understand is that this ability was not born from wanting to control people. It was born from survival. From walking through seasons where you had to read the room for your safety, where you had to detect danger before it could touch you, where knowing someone's intentions could mean the difference between being used or staying free. Those instincts are sharp because they were forged in necessity, and now they serve you as one of your greatest strengths. And this is why they'll never truly understand you. They'll call it luck. They'll call it manipulation. They'll call it anything except what it really is: wisdom. The kind of wisdom that can't be learned in a book or taught in a seminar. The kind that comes from scars, from endurance, from staying awake in a world that tries to lull you to sleep. Now, every step you take carries the weight of that unseen power. Every glance, every pause, every decision is calculated without appearing calculated. And while they're still trying to guess your next move, you've already moved past them, shifted to a different board entirely, and left them playing a game they can no longer win. By now, Chosen One, they've realized the dangerous truth. Your silence has never been empty. It's been full of awareness, full of the kind of quiet calculations that decide the outcome long before anyone else even sees the board. You didn't just hold back to be polite. You held back because you understood timing better than anyone in the room. Every time they underestimated you, they unknowingly handed you another piece of leverage. Every arrogant slip, every assumption about what you didn't know, every attempt to feed you a half-truth, those were all logged, stored, and ready to be used when the moment came. And now, standing in front of you, they can feel that moment approaching like a storm on the horizon. It's not just what you've seen, it's the way you've processed it. Most people notice something and immediately react. You don't. You file it away, you watch the follow-up, you connect it to the last pattern you saw, and you wait until the entire picture is clear. By the time you're ready to act, your understanding is so complete that there's no wiggle room left for them to escape. That's the part that's suffocating them now. They know you've pieced it all together, and they can't change the ending anymore. And the most haunting thing for them? You've never needed to say, "I know." Your energy has been saying it the whole time. Your eyes, your posture, your calmness in the face of their attempts to shake you, all of it has told them that you're already 3 moves ahead, that you've been 3 moves ahead from the very start. They've tried to copy your patience, but they can't match it because they don't understand it. They think patience is waiting without action. You know, patience is action. It's restraint. It's strategy. It's knowing that the longer you observe, the more they will show themselves. And when they finally see how much you've gathered, it's too late for them to pull back. This is why the checkmate they're in now feels so inescapable. They thought they were playing offense, but all along they were being funneled into the exact position you needed them to be in. And now, no matter which way they turn, it leads to the same conclusion. You've already won. What makes this power so devastating is that you don't use it to flex or humiliate. You use it to protect, to stay aligned, to move forward without unnecessary battles. But that doesn't mean you won't let them see the quiet consequence of their own actions. Sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is letting them feel the weight of their own undoing while you continue to rise without them. And so you stand, not as someone who fought them blow for blow, but as someone who simply never let them close enough to cause real damage. They tried to figure you out, to box you in, to predict your steps, but they forgot the most important rule. You're not playing their game. They've been chasing a shadow while you've been building a kingdom. And now, Chosen One, the board is silent. The game is over, not because you shouted victory, but because every move they had has been quietly erased. They're left staring at the reality you built while they were too busy trying to guess your next step. The truth is, they never even saw the full game. You played on levels they didn't have the patience, discipline, or clarity to reach. Your greatest weapon was never loud confrontation. It was the quiet certainty of knowing who you are and what you carry. You never needed to flash every card in your hand. You never needed to prove anything in the middle of the noise. You understood that the real win isn't about crushing someone in public. It's about creating a life so untouchable, so unshakable, that no one can even step onto your level without being exposed. And that's what happened here. They caught glimpses of your insight, your discipline, your strength, and each glimpse was enough to make them realize how far behind they really were. That's why it rattled them. That's why their moves grew sloppy. That's why, in the end, their own patterns led them into a corner. You don't have to stand over them and declare the checkmate. You simply keep moving forward, taking the power that comes from knowing you mastered this without lowering yourself to their chaos. The beauty of your strategy is that it leaves you free from their games, their schemes, their desperate need for control. And as you walk away from this board, remember this: your silence spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. Your patience was your sharpest sword. Your observation was your victory. And from here on, every step you take will only widen the gap between where they are and where you're destined to be. Because the chosen never play to prove, they play to win without ever needing to explain how.